Friends, good morning. So just as a public service announcement, if you didn't pick up one of these little cards on your way in at the entrances of the church, they've got the Sanctus and the Memorial Acclamation that we're going to start doing here during Advent, the Latin Mass parts. It's to be in communion with the wishes of Pope Leo. He pretty much right after he was elected, he launched this website that said, it was called Sing with the Pope. It was teaching the world, again, the great tradition of the Latin Mass part. So in union with him, we're going to be doing that going forward here for daily Mass. So if you don't have it, it's right here, over there, if you want to pick that up. So back to our regularly scheduled program. Here we go. So I'm sure you recall, at least I would imagine you recall, back in 2011 when the English-speaking Catholic world got the updated, newly translated version of the Roman Missal, right? So it used to be that book right there, that big red book, that used to be called the Sacramentary, that has all the priest prayers. And we had the new translation in 2011, the third typical edition of the Roman Missal. And it was a beautiful update. It was a beautiful update to the prayers. Some of the striking changes, before we receive communion, we used to say, if you recall, Lord, I am not worthy to receive you, but only say the word and I shall be healed. It's funny, celebrating funerals and weddings, oftentimes when they get to that part of the Mass, and you hear this audible, disjunct, when some people are saying the new version, some people are saying the old version. You can spot the Catholics who have not been to Mass in a while, when they give it away when they say that. Anyway, the current translation that we got, it's a much more accurate reflection of the original Latin there, and of course it comes from the Gospel that we just heard, this beautiful response from this centurion when Jesus says, I will come to cure him. And his centurion, his response is, I know that your word has authority. My word has authority. He's saying, I tell people to do things and they do things. He said, if my word carries authority, how much more so must your word? And he says, only say the word and my servant shall be healed. Right? And so into the liturgy, only say the word and my soul shall be healed. There's so much richness, there's so much gold packed into these words. First and foremost, it's right before we receive the Eucharist, we again declare our humility, this recognition of humility, a declaration of our unworthiness. Like, how could you or I ever merit to receive the flesh of the Son of God, God's heart into our very humanity? If you go to Mexico City to visit the shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe, you will see invariably, any day you go there, you will see pilgrims making their way kilometers distance away from the basilica. They're approaching on their knees, slowly crawling to the basilica on their knees in prayer. And that's just to behold the image of Our Lady. What are we doing? We're approaching to receive the heart of God. There just quite simply is no life of extraordinary holiness or extraordinary goodness that's so good or so exemplary that could ever be deserving. We can't do anything to merit him. We can't do anything to be worthy, to be deserving of it. But this is perhaps, I think, the greatest part of the good news, that Jesus, the treasure, he's never too terribly concerned about the quality of the vessel that contains him, right? St. Paul, we hold this treasure in earthen vessels. Jesus is never too concerned about the quality of the vessel, it seems. Just ask the mud of Eden's soil that God reached in and fashioned and formed into Adam, this divine image bearer, that the mud was bearing the divine image. Or ask the bush that Moses saw in Exodus 3:14, this bush that flamed out the glory of God from inside of it. He's just like, I was just a bush, now containing the glory of God. Or ask the cave in Bethlehem that night that cave became the center of the universe, the throne, the palace of the king. The treasure is not too terribly concerned about the earthen vessel. That's what we're saying. Lord, I am not worthy that you should enter under my roof. Just start with the biological reality, like the roof of your mouth. I'm not worthy that you should enter under the roof of my mouth. Like, notice the concreteness here, the concrete reality that the God of the universe, he desires to enter under the roof of your mouth. It's not ethereal or intellectual or spiritual. It's not a disembodied faith. It's literally the Lord wants to get his love inside of you and I. It's fleshy, it's tactile, it's touchable, tasteable, consumable. The Word became flesh in order to redeem the flesh, to touch the flesh, to sanctify our flesh. The Word never ceases to pull back from our flesh. When you and I, oftentimes when we think of a roof, more likely, we're probably not thinking about the roof of our mouth. We're more likely thinking of the roof of a house, the roof of a building. The space where you dwell, the space where you abide, where your stuff lives, or where your stories happen. It's where your whole life exists. It's everything that is yours. That's what a home is. Now go back to Luke's gospel where Gabriel comes to Joseph in the dream and says, Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary, your wife, into your home, because that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Spirit. In other words, do not be afraid to allow her to come under your roof. And he does, right? The next verse is Joseph took her and brought her into his home, but the Greek is hos haidia, which means he brought her into everything that is his. Everything that is his. Healing, the healing our hearts long for, healing comes about when everything under our roof is brought into communion with Jesus' love. It's a good definition of healing, that healing comes about when everything under our roof is brought into communion with Jesus' love. So friends, as we begin again this Advent journey, I just want to really encourage you, especially in this Mass today and going forward, to be very intentional about those words that we're saying. Lord, I am not worthy that you should enter under my roof, but only say the word and my soul shall be healed.